Join me today for part two, essentially part two, of what would happen if LEGO were to lose the Star Wars license. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobby, and this is a follow-up to the video I did a short while ago asking the hypothetical question, what would happen if LEGO were to lose the Star Wars license? Now, as I mentioned in that video, and I just want to make it crystal clear again here, this is purely a thought exercise, a hypothetical question. I have no real reason to believe that LEGO is in any danger of losing the license or giving up the license, as is I believe, the more likely scenario if they were to part ways. Now, there is a gentleman out there who is wildly misunderstanding certain practices LEGO has, and is using this to further his own views that, yeah, LEGO might be losing the license sometime soon, or sales are bad, or something. Now, before I go in, before I tell you who I'm talking about, because I'm going to, I do want to be clear on one thing. The guy's whole shtick, I like it. Like the whole, the background effects, the costume, the whole acting like he's like a supervillain broadcasting from the center of the earth, the music, that's great. You know, if I had the setup for that kind of stuff, I think we would attempt something like that with this, with a different channel probably. Because I like it. You know, it's zany. It's, just not something you just come across every day. And so, I give him props for that. However, basically everything I've ever heard him claim he has a source on, or things are going to happen, and I don't watch his channel religiously, I rarely watch anymore, he's been wrong. Like, a lot. So, anyone that uses anything from him as a source needs to be taken with a grain of salt the size of the Rock of Gibraltar. And the person I'm talking about, and I'm assuming I can actually say his name on here, is Doomcock. And yeah, because there was a response to one of the other videos talking about how Hasbro is looking to dump the Star Wars license, and I began looking around and realized that the source of that rumor is this gentleman. And so I watched a more recent video where he starts talking about LEGO. And as evidence of his claim, he uses a newspaper article. Well, he has one article that talks about steep sales on Amazon, which at this very moment there are. And then he's like, but then this other article comes out the same day talking about LEGO sets retiring, and just cackles like a crazy person, see, it's happening. And it's like, no, LEGO routinely retires sets. They don't just sell the same set for years and years and years on end, or that's insanely rare when they do. The sets typically have about a 2-year shelf life, and then they retire. That's what they call it. That's what it's been called for quite a while. And so this is the kind of thing that people should really stop falling for. This guy is wrong constantly. According to him, Kathleen Kennedy's been on the verge of being fired for the last 5 years now, and that's clearly not the case, because she hasn't been fired, and just numerous other things like that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, so that because I did ask a person if they had a source on the thing, and I found it. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the Hasbro part of that next time Chad and I get together to record the podcast we started. But yeah, so I just wanted to throw it out there that yes, there is this rumor floating around, and its source is erroneous, and you should not listen to it. So, and I wanted to be crystal clear that I am not putting forth that this is happening. All right. So, disclaimer aside, now that we're like 5 minutes into the video, what's this one going to be about? Well, a comment in the other one made me realize that there's an aspect of this that I just did not cover well. And that is some of the financial side of things and the secondary market. So, the person's comment, and I'll put their name like over here or something, because due to my lack of prep, I didn't write down their name, so I can't say it right now. Maybe I'll have a 5-second clip of me saying their name just spliced into here somewhere. But anyway, they commented that what'll happen is the Star Wars sets will explode on the secondary market in terms of their value. That's the gist of their comment. Again, I don't have their exact comment, but that's basically what they were saying. Or possibly exactly what they were saying, because I don't have it right in front of me. And I'm using my phone, so I can't look it up. So I think that is a likely outcome over the short term. And I think part of what will happen is how much of a lead time does the average person, like how far out is this like a known thing that's going to happen? Is it a case of like, well, let's just say hypothetically, that they were to lose the license in 2026, okay? Because we already know there's sets coming out in 2025. So let's say 2026. Let's say that the last wave of 2025 is the last wave of Star Wars Lego sets. Now, will we know that before those sets are released? Will we know that January 1st, 2026? Will we, it really depends on when we know this for what could happen. Because I think, depending on that, depending on the strength of whatever that last wave of sets is and everything, what you could see is the shelves just empty. Because people will know that this is coming, and they're like, hey, this is the last wave. This is the last ticket on the boat of the reselling market. So I'm going to get mine. And people just clear them out. They don't wait for sales. They'll just buy them at retail. That's one possibility. Another is that enough people are like, oh, the line's dying, I'm done, which this happens with things where people lose interest once they know there's no more, and they just don't buy whatever's left. And then interest would greatly decline, which would lead to clearance sales at the end of the life cycle on retail shelves. So that's another possibility, which leads to the possibility of then the people intending on reselling swoop in and buy all that up at clearance with the intention of hanging on to it and then reselling it. So from those possibilities, the reseller market could go one of a few different ways. You could have a situation where, yes, the prices of all of it start to go up because everyone realizes, oh, there won't be any more TIE fighters and I never grabbed one, so now I've got to get one. So I'll look at all the old ones and buy the one that I actually want, which will begin to decrease the number on the market, which will increase the price. Or you could have people like, I'm content with what I've got. I've got some extras I never put together, I'll sell them now, which will increase the inventory on the market, which will decrease the price. And you just have several different permutations of how this will play out. And I'm nowhere near good enough at predicting things to even make a wager on this one, because I've seen things that I would have thought would have increased in value once they were no longer on the market that don't. I've seen weird things that do. But a parallel to other toy lines is that I think the retailers will know what's coming. Mainly because Lego, a year out, it's like, yeah, there's not going to be any more Star Wars after this point. And assuming they can keep a lid on it, what will happen is they'll begin decreasing their orders. And so that last wave might actually be hard to find just because there's not much out there. And so that could artificially drive up its value. And I've seen this with other toy lines. At the end, things get really hard to get. Like the Alien toy line from Kenner and the Predator toy line. Like around me, Walmart's, Targets, they carried this. But like the last wave or two, I never saw them in person, and I never see them at toy shows either. Just because, for whatever reason, and I'm assuming again it's because retailers know that the line is ending, and they're like, well, so are we, and they just don't buy that last wave or two. So if that would also happen with Lego, and I don't know with Lego, like if there's a history there that mirrors the action figure market, because obviously, like a retailer would be like, oh, this Castle line's pretty awesome. Like, what about next year? And Lego was like, what about next year? Hope you like City, or whatever. And so they know that Lego goes through cycles like that. So maybe that wouldn't happen. But on the other hand, the Star Wars line's been going for 25 years. So, as of this recording. So, it's a little bit different than, oh, well, there's going to be fewer City sets this year. Or that, let's say the Dreams line, let's say that they we're done with that. That's only been going for a couple of years. So, it's just in the normal Lego cycle of, okay, we'll do this thing for a little while, then we'll move on to something else. This is, no, there's like 2 or 3 generations of people that have been born while this product has been a product. So this is a thing. So whenever it ends, the retailers don't want to be left holding the bag. And so I think that's the most likely outcome, but I could be mistaken on that, obviously. And again, this is all just a hypothetical. And then the aftermarket, there's a whole range of possibilities there. I mean, they ultimately boil down to 3, which is it tanks, it stays the same, or it goes up. And then varying degrees of those, and on a set-by-set basis and things like that. Now, if it goes up, then I think the weirdo one-off things that have a fan base behind them, I think that stuff will just skyrocket in value, because now everyone knows there is just the one. I don't know without looking up the value of the TIE Defender at the moment, but there was only one TIE Defender set, and it's the fighter itself is popular, so that's the kind of thing everyone can be like, well, there's not going to be any more for sure now, so up we go. Or like I think there was just the one Force Unleashed set, which is the only set that has Star Killer in it. That we know there won't be any more if the line gets canceled, so up it goes in value. The Knights of the Old Republic stuff, or the Old Republic stuff. I don't know, just the other things that have like unique figures or parts, or it's the only version of that thing, all of those would stand to greatly increase in value, because now we would know for sure that there would not be another version from Lego. Because right now, we're all at the, well, yeah, that version's out of retail and has declining stocks, but Lego could remake it. And that's one thing that keeps some of the prices in check, I think. Except for sets that people are convinced that they won't make another one, like the chip from Force Unleashed. Because we have no reason to think that they will make another one. They can, in theory, depending on the license and everything. But is there a reason to think that they would? Versus, a Stormtrooper battle pack. Like, we know as long as the line exists, more of those will come out. So that's less of a, that, for reselling purposes, those are mainly if you can find them on steep clearance. That's not investing advice, by the way. Don't take anything I'm saying here at all as investing advice. I'm not an investment individual, not a broker, not an economist. None of those things. So none of this is investing advice. These are just my observations and hypotheticals. So yeah, that's, like I said, that was something I just didn't consider in the other video, was what happens to the secondary market essentially. And yeah, I lean more towards some of the sets would escalate in value. And if the last wave suffers from things that like normal last wave action figures suffer from, where there's just fewer of them, then yeah, the values will skyrocket. The problem for any reseller is going to be, when will you know that's the case? And so yeah, because to give an example, there was a line called the Monster Fighters, and they they had the classic Universal monsters, Dracula, the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, and Frankenstein, I believe. I think Frankenstein was in there. Not 100% certain on Frankenstein, but the others all had versions of them. And there were also zombies in some of the sets. And there's a set that I believe it's a hearse and a couple of graves that the zombies are in and can come up and everything. I think it's like a cemetery kind of set. And it was an exclusive somewhere, probably Target, if I just off the top of my head, I think it was Target, that was just like, I think it was just wildly underproduced. And so like it hit store shelves, then it sold out and was never replaced. And that set is just worth an absurd amount of money on the secondary market compared to its price. Or at least it has been through the last several years. Like I didn't check the market just before I recorded this video here, but so anytime you get things like that, now it doesn't happen very often with Lego, because usually there's tremendous supply. It usually has to be an exclusive and somehow has to be just way underproduced or wildly popular. Like at this very moment in time, there is a bit of a situation with the Dungeons and Dragons collectible figures, because there is one that is more popular than all the others. That's the Dragonborn Paladin. And I've seen people that have pictures of like hundreds of these things. I have, as of yesterday, because I found some more, I have 5. And I'm going to be topping out somewhere in the single digits, just because I don't need that many of them. I'm not troop building them or anything. I just like the torso. So, and the armor is nice, but the armor will probably end up being in another set at some point. So, this is creating an artificial scarcity, which then gets enhanced because, well, since that's the sought after figure, it's the one that's worth money on the secondary market. And so you also have resellers who are like, oh, well, clearly this is the one that's going to be worth money, so I'm going to get it. So you have 2 different groups shrinking the potential supply. And Lego only does so many waves of the collectible figures for any individual set. So unlike their sets, which sit on the shelves for years, plural, or at the very least 18 months, these are not on the shelves for 18 months. Like the last set was the space set. Yeah, those are gone. And those came out earlier this year. Now, there might be stores here, there, and out here in the hinterlands somewhere that have a few of them floating around. Like, I've seen a couple on clearance at Walmart's here and there. But, like, those are the last 2 or 3 in the store, like literally a couple or 3 or whatever. And so, yeah. So they go fast. And once they're gone, they're gone. There's not a re-up. And so those all just depend on how much Lego thought would sell and how many retailers would buy. Like the Walmart that I normally go to closest to me completely sold through their allotment. They had a sidekick of them, and then also some on the shelf, and within a week they were gone. Now yesterday they got some more in, a couple shelf boxes, and I don't expect to see anything after those. So on those types of things, yeah, they can sell out quickly. But you just don't see that with like the Star Wars sets, because they're boxes that sit on the shelves for a while. They're also, most places are very reluctant to put them on clearance because they're Star Wars. They will eventually sell, is the logic at play. And it's only like for like a big box retailer, it's only until they need that shelf space for the next wave that they're like, all right, we've got to, make some cuts here. And usually that's across the whole store chain, at least for the first markdown. And then after that, like, it's the individual stores mark them down at various prices. But anyway, I'm off way into the weeds here on this. So, like I said, I think that certain sets would escalate in value on the secondary market. I think if the last wave was hard to find, either because Lego short produced it, or because everyone bought it up knowing it was the end, or a combination of the two, then that last wave of sets will definitely be worth money because completionists will want them. And, who knows, they might be like just dynamite versions of the things in question. But again, I don't think that there's any real danger at the moment of any of this happening, because Lego's probably still making tons of money on this. Disney, this is the one product they have for Star Wars that is still at least reasonably selling. So it's good for them to have that exposure, to be out there on the shelf space. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, if ever. So we'll see. But I could see scaling down a little bit maybe. But I mean, Lego, I would like to believe, knows what they're doing. So maybe the sets really are selling really well. I don't know. You do see them on sale sometimes. Like, and then some sets are perpetually on sale, like the TIE Bomber, but the TIE Bomber is overpriced. 65 is too much for that. 51 is more reasonable, but it's on sale for 51 a lot. And then there's other sets that just don't ever go on sale. And I don't know the rhyme or reason behind it, but anyway. So, like I said, I just want to do a follow-up here where I talked about the other side of the equation, the reselling, rebuying, all that stuff, because I didn't really go into it. And, yeah, so here we go. Yeah, that's about all I got to say on that. So let me know down in the comments. The last two videos on this topic, on the Lego topic, have seemed to have gotten a lot of comments. So we always appreciate that, because that helps the channel grow, along with shares and subscribes. Obviously, we love those too. But anything you folks feel like doing to help us out, we appreciate it. We try to answer the comments as best we can. And I think I've answered all or almost all of them. So I try. And that is me down in the comments usually. Even though there's other people on the channel, I'm usually the one in the comments section. So anyway, thank you folks for watching, and just to remember, the Force will be with you always.